Imagine the person running a major corporation, a titan of industry, someone who commands vast resources and influences countless lives. Or leading a country, shaping national policy, making decisions that affect millions, even billions of people across the globe. Now imagine they share the same psychological wiring as a cold-blooded killer. A chilling thought, isn't it? Someone in a position of immense power, yet utterly devoid of empathy. We like to think psychopaths are locked away, safely contained behind bars, far removed from positions of authority. But what if the traits that land some in prison, the ruthlessness, the lack of remorse, the manipulative charm, help others climb to power? What if those very characteristics are mistaken for leadership qualities, driving ambition and unwavering resolve? The truth is, psychopaths aren't just in movies or behind bars, confined to the realms of fiction and criminal justice. They're among us, integrated into our society, often hiding in plain sight. Colleagues sitting in the next cubicle, attending the same meetings, vying for the same promotions. Neighbors living next door, attending neighborhood barbecues, seemingly ordinary members of the community, even bosses. The person evaluating your performance, controlling your career trajectory, shaping your daily work life. Why does society reward those who lack empathy and remorse? Why do we celebrate individuals who prioritize profit over people, ambition over ethics? Have we built systems that favor the ruthless? Have we inadvertently created environments where those with psychopathic traits are more likely to succeed? Researchers have spent decades studying these individuals, meticulously analyzing their behavior and probing the depths of their minds. Revealing that psychopathy isn't cartoonish evil, it's not the stuff of horror movies or sensationalized crime dramas. It's a profound absence of empathy, guilt, and conscience. A fundamental disconnect from the emotional experiences that define most of humanity. So how do people so empty of compassion rise so high? How do they navigate the complexities of human interaction and ascend to positions of power and influence? Maybe our institutions are designed for them to thrive. Perhaps the very structures we've created inadvertently reward their behavior. The unsettling reality, the uncomfortable truth that we must confront. Our world may be a playground for psychopaths, a landscape perfectly suited to their unique and often destructive talents, where their traits become superpowers. And we need to understand how and why. How do you spot a psychopath lurking in plain sight? How do you identify someone who can mimic human emotion but feels nothing inside? Canadian psychologist Robert Hare, a pioneer in the field of psychopathy research, sought to answer this very question. He dedicated his career to understanding the minds of those who operate outside the bounds of societal norms and empathy. Hare created the gold standard, the Hare Psychopathy checklist, often referred to as the PCLR. This assessment tool is the most widely used and respected instrument for diagnosing psychopathy in both forensic and clinical settings. It's a 20-item inventory scored by trained clinicians, requiring a thorough review of the individual's history and behavior. It's not a self-report questionnaire, it demands professional judgment, measuring traits like superficial charm, a disarming ability to impress and manipulate others with ease, grandiosity, an inflated sense of self-worth and importance, often accompanied by a sense of entitlement, pathological lying, a chronic and compulsive tendency to deceive, and manipulativeness, the skill of exploiting others for personal gain. A score of 30 or above out of 40 signals psychopathy, indicating a high likelihood of antisocial behavior and a lack of empathy. The checklist exposes the emptiness inside, the profound lack of genuine emotional connection, lack of remorse, an inability to feel guilt or regret for their actions, no matter how harmful. Shallow emotions, fleeting and insincere displays of feeling that lack depth and authenticity. Callousness, a blatant disregard for the feelings and well-being of others. And a parasitic lifestyle, a reliance on others for financial and emotional support, often through manipulation and deceit. Psychopaths see people as pawns, not as humans, objects to be used and discarded in their pursuit of power and gratification. They're impulsive, acting without thinking of the consequences, irresponsible, failing to meet their obligations and commitments, and often leave chaos in their wake, leaving behind broken relationships, financial ruin, and emotional scars. The checklist is chilling, a stark reminder of the darkness that can reside within the human psyche. A blueprint for a predator, outlining the traits and behaviors that define a ruthless and calculating individual, who moves through life without a second thought for the damage they cause, leaving a trail of destruction and heartbreak in their path. It's not about evil, not in the traditional supernatural sense. It's about a missing conscience, a fundamental deficit in the capacity for empathy, guilt, and remorse. Psychopathy is part of the dark triad, alongside narcissism and Machiavellianism. Narcissism is grandiosity and a need for admiration. Machiavellianism is manipulative, ends justify the means thinking. Together, these traits create master manipulators, charming, persuasive, and ruthlessly self-serving. Not all psychopaths are violent. Many are successful psychopaths, thriving in boardrooms, not prisons. Their weapons aren't knives, but rumors, layoffs, and lies. The damage they cause is social ruined careers, broken trust, shattered organizations. They climb by bending the rules, not breaking the law. These are predators in suits, thriving in the corporate jungle. The most dangerous monsters don't look like monsters at all. Are psychopaths born or made? The answer is both. Twin studies show a strong genetic component. Certain genes can predispose someone to psychopathy, but genetics aren't destiny. A traumatic childhood, abuse, neglect, instability can activate these traits. The environment shapes the developing brain, teaching survival through ruthlessness. Physical brain injury, especially to the frontal lobes, can also trigger psychopathic behavior. The famous case of Phineas Gage shows how brain damage can transform personality. Psychopathy is a complex dance between nature, nurture, and sometimes sheer accident. The roots run deep, but the outcome isn't inevitable. Neuroscience reveals the psychopathic brain is wired differently. The amygdala, our emotional alarm system, barely reacts to fear or distress in others. Psychopaths understand emotions intellectually but don't feel them viscerally. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for impulse control and decision-making, is less active in psychopaths. This explains their impulsivity and inability to learn from mistakes. Psychopathy isn't just a moral failing, it's a neurodevelopmental disorder. Emotional words mean little. Their brains process love and pain like table or chair. This cold detachment gives them a ruthless advantage. They make decisions unclouded by guilt or empathy. Where do psychopaths thrive? Not just in crime, but in business and politics. Studies show senior executives are 4 times more likely to have psychopathic traits than the general population. Charisma, fearlessness, and ruthlessness are assets in high-stakes professions, especially politics. Psychopaths excel at persuasion, withstand scrutiny, and make tough decisions without flinching. The same pattern appears in law, media, and even celebrity culture. Their calm under pressure, fearless dominance is prized. But not every leader is a psychopath. Most are driven by vision and responsibility. The problem: our systems often mistake confidence and charm for true leadership. By the time the mask slips, the damage is done. Why do our systems reward psychopaths? Our world is fast, impersonal, and data-driven. Empathy can be seen as weakness. Cold decisions look like strength. Psychopaths see people as numbers, not lives. The system rewards results, not the humanity behind them. Hiring and promotion processes are easy to manipulate. Psychopaths ace interviews and take credit for others' work. By the time their true nature is revealed, they've moved on, leaving chaos behind. Organizations that prize aggressive growth and competition create breeding grounds for psychopaths. Empathetic employees are pushed out, the ruthless rise. It's a feedback loop, rewarding the very traits that ultimately harm the system. Psychopathy isn't all or nothing, it's a spectrum. Most of us fall somewhere in the middle with a mix of empathy and self-interest. We all tell white lies, take risks, or act selfishly at times. Psychopathic traits, ruthlessness, charm, focus, can be useful in moderation. Kevin Dutton calls them the 7 deadly wins: ruthlessness, charm, focus, mental toughness, fearlessness, mindfulness, and action. Surgeons, soldiers, and athletes need some of these traits to excel. The problem is when these traits aren't balanced by empathy and conscience. The line between ambition and ruthlessness is thin. Recognizing the spectrum helps us see the shades of gray in human behavior. Can psychopathy be treated? Traditionally, the answer was no. Therapy often made psychopaths better manipulators. They learn the language of emotion, not the feeling. Now, focus is shifting to early intervention with children showing callous unemotional traits. New programs reward positive behavior, teaching that cooperation is more effective than aggression. The goal isn't to create empathy, but to manage behavior. It's a pragmatic approach. Progress is slow, but there's hope. The challenge remains immense. The modern world, with its complex structures and competitive environments, may be perfectly suited for psychopaths. It's a thought-provoking and perhaps unsettling idea. Are we inadvertently creating a landscape where certain personality types not only survive but thrive? Their lack of empathy, often seen as a deficit in personal relationships, becomes a tool for ruthless efficiency in the workplace. Decisions are made without the burden of emotional considerations, leading to swift, decisive action. And their manipulativeness, coupled with a disarming charisma, allows them to navigate complex social structures with ease, influencing others and achieving their goals, often at the expense of those around them. Their fearlessness, often bordering on recklessness, and unwavering confidence, even in the face of uncertainty, can be incredibly appealing, projecting an image of strength and competence. We've built systems that, consciously or unconsciously, reward these traits, often prioritizing short-term gains over long-term ethical considerations. We risk mistaking these characteristics for genuine leadership, failing to recognize the potential for harm that lies beneath the surface. This isn't a call for paranoia, urging us to suspect everyone, but for vigilance. A heightened awareness of the motivations and behaviors of those around us. We need to actively cultivate and value integrity, humility, and compassion, qualities that are often overlooked in the pursuit of success. These values should be held as equally important as confidence and drive, creating a more balanced and ethical environment. Stronger accountability systems with clear consequences for unethical behavior can help us see past the facade of charm and manipulation, revealing the true nature of individuals. Awareness is, without a doubt, our best defense, the ability to recognize the signs and patterns of psychopathic behavior. We must learn to question charisma, to look beyond the surface appeal and examine the substance of a person's actions and intentions. We need to actively seek out and listen to quieter, empathetic voices, those who prioritize collaboration and compassion over personal gain. The disproportionate rise of the psychopath in positions of power is a reflection of what we as a society value and reward. It's a mirror reflecting our own priorities. If we genuinely want a better world, a more just and equitable society, we must actively change the environment that allows them to thrive, dismantling the systems that perpetuate their success. Let's commit to building systems that support the many, fostering collaboration, empathy, and ethical behavior, not just the ruthless few who prioritize personal gain above all else.